think we're on. Hello. Hi, my name's Pirra. I am the owner and designer of Allerton swimwear, and I am also a lecturer here at Billy Blue College of Design. I am a lecturer in branded fashion design, and I am here to answer any questions you guys might have about studying fashion design at Billy Blue, working in fashion, owning your own business, or whatever it might be. So please jump on and ask any questions, and I'm happy to answer them. I guess I'll start with a little bit about my brand. So Allerton is an ethical and environmentally aware swimwear label, and I have a real focus on transparency in production. So that means it's being really open about where it's being manufactured and how it's being manufactured, and the cost of that manufacture. I think that's really important. Design-wise, I have a real focus on fit and function. So I'm really interested in making sure that the pieces fit on the body and they're wearable and they're going to make the wearer feel good and look good and just be comfortable in themselves. So Allerton is made in Australia and I'm based in Sydney. All our manufacturing is also based in Sydney as well, so literally 5-10 minutes away from my studio. So that's really important to me because I can maintain quality and ensure that everything's getting made the way that I want it to be. So I've just seen a question about why the brand is called Allerton. So Allerton is my mum's maiden name, and I've just kind of called the brand after her because she's been such an inspiration and support to me, and really encouraging me to study what I love and kind of work in the field that I love as well. I've got another question here. Is it hard to continuously produce new and fresh designs? Yeah, it is. It's really challenging. The swimwear industry especially is really competitive. I feel like, especially in Australia, so many brands have a swimwear line, and there are so many different swimwear labels. It's really important to stand out. For me, I really try to focus on function, like I said, and fit, as well as looking at trends. But I guess, yeah, it's just trying to come up with like the next thing and keeping your finger on the pulse and seeing what the market's doing and things like that. That's really important. So I've just got a question to know how beneficial it is to get a degree. If that's studying in fashion, yeah. Okay, so it is really important, I think, to get some formal education in fashion. You can definitely, if you're starting your own label, it is possible to just go and start without getting, experience or a qualification, but I would definitely recommend getting some kind of education, also experience in the industry. I think the two side by side has really been beneficial for me. I studied a Bachelor of Design in Fashion and Textiles, and that alongside work experience, interning, and also working in the industry before starting my own label was really beneficial. I would definitely recommend getting some kind of formal training as well. Seeing what else other questions I've got. So the fabric that swimmers are made from. So like I said, Allerton is an ethical and eco-friendly swimwear label. One of the most important things for me is reducing waste and reducing resources, because the fashion industry itself is so resource consuming and damaging to the environment. So one of the things I do to kind of create an alternative to the fast fashion that's available now and out there on the market is to create garments that are made from, I've got two main types of fabric that I use. One is a regenerated fabric, and that's this beautiful regenerated Italian Lycra, and it's made from pre and post consumer materials, and that includes things like fishing nets that ghost fishing nets that they've got from the bottom of the ocean, and regenerated it into this beautiful Lycra that you would definitely not know that it's made from fishing nets. Also things like carpets and different things with nylon in them. So it's really cool that I'm able to do that. And yeah, I mean, that's one way that Allerton is environmentally aware. The other thing I do is use deadstock fabric. So deadstock fabric is like end of rolls and remnant fabrics as well, which can be really difficult when I'm working with Lycra because it's so technical. But it's something that I care really passionately about. I think it's really important to be really mindful of the fabrics that you use and what you're producing. And I think using deadstock fabric is even better than using the regenerated fabric because you're not producing anything more. So that's really important to me. Got another question. The hardest part in starting a business. The hardest part. I think there are so many hard parts, and owning a business can be really difficult. It's really rewarding though as well. I guess at the beginning when you're managing everything yourself, that can be really difficult. I was lucky enough that I have quite a lot of experience working in the industry and also kind of interning and work experience while I was at uni. And that really prepared me. So I would definitely suggest that if you're wanting to start your own business, to get as much experience in the industry as you can. I guess the other hard part is cash flow and finance. It costs, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 times what you think the business is going to cost to launch. It's going to cost so much more. So yeah, and I guess the other thing is just getting exposure. So it's really important to find your niche and find your selling point, and kind of get that out there and find the consumers and the customers that are going to like your product. So I'm just having a look. So I've got a question. When did you begin to explore and become passionate about sustainable fashion? Thanks for that question. So yeah, I guess I've always been passionate and aware of environmental issues, and alongside that I've always really liked fashion, and I know that there is definitely a conflict there, and just the more kind of research you do about fashion, you can see how damaging it is. So I guess the main thing is waste that gets produced from fashion. So pre-production and production, there's so much waste. Also through distribution, and then what the consumer does with your garments after they finish using them, so the whole life cycle. There's also a real drain on resources that are used in production, and also labour and the exploitation of people, and I think that's really critical to be really aware of, which is why I manufacture in Australia, because I think I can literally go into the factory anytime and I can see what conditions they're working in, and I know how much they're getting paid. I chat with them and I chat with the makers, and yeah, that's really important to me. So I guess the more and more I learnt about fashion, the more I realised how important it was and how it's kind of a non-negotiable for me that my label is environmentally aware. There's just, if you're not considering that with a business, then you need to do it. It's a non-negotiable for consumers as well at the moment. So we've got another question. Do you think the fashion industry is open to using ethical fabrics? I think they are more and more. Lots of the big guys now are doing small lines. So maybe Zara and your H&Ms are doing really small lines that are, sustainable or ethical, and that's really great. It really needs to be across the board. It's one thing for the little guys like me to be using ethical and eco-friendly manufacturing techniques and methods, but it really needs to be taken on by everybody, and that the only way we're going to be able to do that, I think, is for the consumer to really be aware and be educated on what they're buying, and ask the big labels who are making their clothes. So Fashion Revolution is a really good organisation that you should definitely look up, and that's their whole goal, is to I guess pressure the big fashion labels and smaller labels to be really transparent with how they're making their garments. And that's something that I really am passionate about. I have a page on my website about transparency and being really clear about how much I pay for things and where they get made. And it's not hard for me to do, so I encourage, you know, all new labels and existing labels to give it a go and just be clear about who's making their garments. So I've got another question. What celebrities have worn my bathers? So quite a few, actually. So Allerton has been, this is its 4th year, its 4th summer, and I've had some really exciting kind of opportunities that have come around. So I guess the biggest one would be Rihanna. Really excited, massive fan of hers, and to see her wearing Allerton was really exciting. Just recently, Anna Heinrich, Cindy Bruna, Tash, Oakley, Devin, Brugma. There's been so many, and I think that has really helped the business, because it really gives a feeling of legitimacy, and it shows, that your pieces are special and are getting noticed by celebrities and different people. So, and that's really nice. But to be honest, there's nothing better than actually seeing just an ordinary person on the beach or at the pool wearing one of Allerton's pieces. Like, that's so special, and I get such a kick out of it when I see that. It's really rewarding. So I've got a question. Can you run through the process of bringing each piece to life? Oh, in a nutshell, so it probably takes about, 9 months, 10 months for something from I guess conception to, and the idea in my head, to in store. So at the moment I'm just finalising the design and samples for for next summer, so 2019, and I guess now I'll be sampling probably over Christmas, and then so that just means making, first and second samples and testing them and wearing them and living in the garments and just seeing how they feel on the body, because that's really important to me. And then I suppose in January, February, I'll have my photo shoot, and then we'll do selling to stores. So I've got stockists in Australia and internationally as well. So probably my biggest stockists are the Iconic, here in Sydney or in Australia and New Zealand. I'm also stocked in House of Fraser in the UK. Forever 21, I was actually really lucky enough to have them to be my very first stockist. And we did a special collaboration with Forever 21, who did like a curated designer swimwear collection that was offered in their Vegas and Miami stores, which was really cool. And also, I'm on Amazon and some specialty stores in Australia as well. So yeah, we'll sell to them and then get into production probably May, maybe March, April, May. And that involves grading, so taking from one size to all the other sizes that I'm offering, testing them again, wearing them, making sure they fit, and then cutting. So cutting would be the next step. And I cut just 10 minutes down the road from my studio, or we cut in-house sometimes as well. And that way I can really just reduce the waste that's produced just in pre-production and production. And then it gets sewn up in my factories, or the factories that I use in Marrickville and Campsie, also really close to my St. Peter's studio. And then, packaged up and dispatched out to stockists or to customers. And that usually happens, drops into store in September. So it really gets looked at throughout the year, really, and it's a real process of testing and fitting the designs and improving them as much as I can, basically. Okay, so another question: what was my first job, and did I start out on fashion? So my very first work experience job was actually in swimwear. I think it was in year 9 or year 10 for work experience for a week in high school. I did work experience at a swimwear label where I saw how they design, and they actually manufacture it on site as well, and they had a store there, and I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with the whole process, and they really taught me there how important fit was and function. And then from there I worked in retail stores, I worked at a service station and a bunch of other things, and then when I got to Sydney, so I grew up in Port Macquarie, and then when I got to Sydney and I studied fashion, I had some different work experience opportunities. So I guess mainly at Tiger Lily Swimwear, Camilla, and then at Jets. At Jet Swimwear I ended up working there for quite a few years before I left and started my own label. And I guess I always wanted to do fashion, always wanted to do something that I could use my hands and create different pieces, and it's really nice. It's just such a rewarding experience to be able to think of something in your head and design it and pattern make it and physically make it and produce it into a saleable product. So I guess I always wanted to do that. So I've got a question: do I teach sustainability in fashion at Billy Blue? So there's not a fashion and sustainability subject, but within all of our subjects at Billy Blue, there is a focus on sustainability and the importance of sustainability. There is some subjects, a common core subject, so that's with all of our different disciplines as well, so like graphic design and different design courses. There is sustainability classes then and subjects then, but in the final year at branded fashion, all of the students are encouraged and expected to have a really solid sustainability and environmentally aware policy for the label that they create. So it's kind of embedded throughout the course, which is really good, because my students will know it's my favourite subject to talk about. So I've got another question: do you make swimmers for all shapes and sizes? So yes, I definitely do. I, like I said, have a focus on fit and function. So that means not only do I wear test all of the garments and make sure they fit and feel comfortable, but I kind of embed within the design different qualities that allow for you to kind of tailor the garments and adjust it to fit you. So there might be like a tied side or a back adjusting a clip or something like that, shoulder straps that adjust and things like that. And I also have a kind of tailor-made or a custom option that my customers can take advantage of, and that's been really successful, and I've really loved being able to produce garments that are kind of custom to my customers, because at swimwear it's not going to fit everyone every time, but it's great to be able to kind of tailor pieces for them, and I can do that because it's manufactured in Australia, and I have a really great relationship with my factories and the makers that I use and my machinists, and she can whip up a garment in no time and we can fit it on a customer. I recently did one for a young girl who'd had an operation and had different tubes and things and a scar. Oh, I've just got in the dark. She had some different tubes and things that she wanted to cover up, so we managed to flip a cutout on a one piece, and she was really happy with that. So I love that I have the opportunity to make it in any size. I'm more than happy to kind of custom make. So another question: any advice for young people thinking of studying branded fashion design? Yeah, so I guess the main thing is, well, there's quite a few. I'm a massive advocate for work experience. Get as much work experience as you can in the industry, in different roles in the industry, in different kind of areas. I was really lucky enough at Jets especially, when I was working at Jet Swimwear, to have really good amount of time in lots of different areas. So while I stayed mostly in the design room, I also assisted the creative director, and we looked at things like ordering and bringing fabrics in and things like that. Also spent some time in production, in sales, in cutting, even in dispatch and working in store. So I would definitely recommend getting as much work experience as you can. And also just to absorb as much as you possibly can, whether it's at work experience or at uni, and just try and find, if you're not sure of the reason behind an assessment task, or you can't find value in it, ask your lecturers, because there's definitely a reason why you're doing every single point in an assessment. So we really look over the assessments, every trimester and make sure that they're to industry standard and they're relevant. So there's always a reason, and I guess it helps sometimes to chat to your lecturers about it and try and get the most that you can out of each assessment. And I guess the other advice for fashion students, or any student, I guess, is to network. And as ugly as the word networking is, it's so important to make friends and make relationships with not just people in your class, but other people in the field. So we're really lucky enough that we have graphic design and photography and different courses here on campus in Sydney and in our other Billy Blue campuses. And we often do collaborations and just try and network and make relationships, because you never know where that person is going to be when you graduate. So I'm still really good friends with the students I went to uni with, and we often help each other out, and we're always kind of there for each other, even if it's just advice. But it could be that person is a buyer and you're selling your garments to, or you never know. So I would say networking, work experience, and just absorb as much as you can. So I've got another question. So what conceptual process do you go through, and where do you find inspiration? So I guess the first thing I do when I'm starting to design the new collection would be research. So I definitely research the market. I look at past sales and see what's worked there. I look at my customer and I see what they might want. Sometimes I jump on Instagram and I talk to my customers and ask them, color ideas, or if they've got any requests and things like that, if they've got any suggestions. And also competitor research and things like that, and I look at what's in store. And then the kind of trick is, though, not to regurgitate kind of what's already out there, but to come up with something new. So I definitely look at some trend research as well, but trying to come up with a concept that's going to dictate my design decisions for that collection is really crucial. A lot of the time for me, it's kind of a mood, I guess, or a feeling that I want to get across in my photo shoot. So I might have an idea of what the garment might look like that way, or I might want to play with a particular kind of thing to explore. So at the moment, I'm really looking at textures and ways that I can kind of overlap and fold fabrics and things like that, and to see kind of what kind of impact I can make using minimal styling. So yeah, that's my inspiration for this season that's out right now. So it's called Impact, the latest collection, and it's about making an impact with minimal but really considered design. So I hope that answers your question. So I've got another question. 3 most important things to know, be aware of when it comes to starting your own brand. Definitely the market, and do your research. Definitely have a look at what is on the market and make sure you have a really solid, unique selling point. It's not good enough to, you might really idolize another label. You don't just want to regurgitate the same thing. So really have a solid understanding of what your unique selling point is. And I would have a couple because you never know what's going to happen and who else is going to come onto the market. To be aware of, I guess the other thing would be just to be aware of how much it's going to cost. I cannot tell you enough how much it costs to start a label. There are so many hidden costs. Production costs so much, sampling costs so much, and I would really, that's you know, it's a really big investment in your time and your money, and you really need to be as prepared as you possibly can. And I guess the other thing to be aware of when starting a label, and especially for me for swimwear, just to kind of keep it in perspective. I'm not saving lives at all. I'm creating swimwear and I want it to be fun, and I want it to be empowering for the wearer, and yeah, that's really important to me, to just have fun and enjoy what I do as well. So I would definitely keep that in mind. Seeing what other questions there are. So what differs Billy Blue to other design schools? So Billy Blue, we offer the course is called Branded Fashion Design, and by that it's kind of a commercial focus, but more as by students exploring the market and really understanding the market and creating a brand and a product for a particular market. So that's really important. So when we say commercial, it doesn't mean boring or fast fashion or anything like that. It just means that it's, you know, commercially viable, and it's creating something innovative that can be sold in the market. So that's really a big difference that Billy Blue offers in branded fashion. And also the fact that we do a lot of technical information. So we do lots of tech packs and specifications and costings and things like that, and that is what employers want graduates to have. That's really important. And it looks like we're kind of running out of time. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the questions. That's awesome. It looks like there might be a couple more, but yeah, you can definitely have a sneak peek of the new collection. I will be always posting new things on my own Instagram, so that's at Allerton Swimwear. You can follow me at Pirra Griffiths as well for more behind the scenes. So thank you so much. It's been awesome to speak to you. Feel free to DM if you have any other questions, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks.